Alright, what is good? Long time no see. Been crazy lazy lately, not gonna lie. Trying to get my get my life together and, go hard. Hopefully I can be more consistent with this for sure. Of course. Got my coffee right here. Always got my curiosity, so let's hop into some Japanese learning, not gonna lie. Probably gonna be craptacular. But that's okay, because at least we're out here doing it. So let's study here and get right into it. Gi is gonna be this one. We've got is that bio? Nice. Pyo, that's gonna be this. Oof. Alright. Hyo. Cool deal. This one I believe is so. Nice. Easy money. Hope. Nice. I'm gonna silence my phone, get my attention maximized right now. Alright. This one, I believe is De. Lovely. I want to say Riat. Oof, mute. Rep. Damn, I'm washed. That's crazy. Gap. We've got I think it's this one. Nice. Rat. Is that this one? Okay. So we are fucking selling the bag right now, for lack of a better term. Bia. Hyo. Or Hugh, I mean. Right here we've got Ya. Yo. Mia. Gyu. He. Pyo. Or I mean Pia. Sorry about that. Oof. Ju. Right there. We got Mo because it looks like a mop. Goo is right there. Po. Oof. Sold that so hard. I knew right after I clicked it, obviously aside from this little pop-up, that I was wrong. Chu is going to be Chi plus U. So we got this dude right here. Nice. Ria is going to be this one right here. Ma is going to be this one because it looks like the mast of a ship. Ta. Nia. Ni right there. Da is going to be, I believe, this dude right here. Oh, no. I saw the T equals last second. We are fumbling major here. It's kind of insane. This one's going to be Ha. I was about to say Ke, but yeah, I got it right, thankfully. This one, I believe that's A, so this must be O. Lovely. This one, it's not I. New. Nice. Bu is gonna be this dude right here. Normally is Sa, but with the little quotation marks, that's what they're called. I believe it becomes Za. Right here we got I. I believe this dude's Ro. Lovely. Neo is going to be this dude right here. And then Mew. Nice. Only missed 5. I say only, but that's honestly like, it's not really acceptable for our standards, so we're for sure about to try and do better next time. T equals with the quotation marks is da. Lovely. Po is gonna be P plus yo. So it's that dude. Oh shit. I lied. Re is gonna be probably not gonna get this one right. We'll go right here though. Oh, hit that 33% chance. Let's go. Wa. Myo. Okay. Then Po, as in Kung Fu Panda Po, is gonna be right here. Lovely. Alright, now of course, the moment of truth. Gotta tap the gotcha machine, get our reward. Oh shit. That's like an exotic pole right there. It's sick. Lovely. Alright. Excuse me. Let's go katakana next. See how this goes. Honestly, I haven't, it's taken a couple days, understatement, but a couple days off from this, so probably not gonna remember like very many of these at all, but we're gonna fucking try our best. Oh, excuse me. Alright, Michael is Mike. Yeah, it looks like, let's see what the mnemonic says. It is a female breast side view from a mother you might have called Ma. Oh, he's saying there's some side boob right there. Lovely. Alright, let's write it. Some Lara Croft Tomb Raider side boob. We got meat. It's 3 dashes. Miruku is milk. Obviously, let's get the Miruku. Meat. Mnemonic, do re mi. That is actually a very good mnemonic. Okay, mnemonic. My brain can't brain right now. Anyways. Betsky, lovely. We got Mu. Jamu is gem. Not to be confused with Shamu, the ocean, the world's, I don't even know, he's just a freaking killer whale. So Mu, an arm flexing its bicep for muscle. That's actually a pretty rock solid mnemonic as well. Appreciate that. Ooh, tracing skills for sure ski need work though. Memo. It's cool. Memo and is both a thing in kind of Japanese and English, and it pretty much means the same thing. Note. So let's see. Mnemonic. Okay. I think I got it now. Mnemonic. Okay. When I see something is meh, I just cross it out. That's honestly another decent mnemonic. Helps the visualizations for sure. Mapu is mop. Mapu. Mo. Mnemonic. First 2 strokes look like ni. So, finding Nemo. What? First 2 strokes look like ni. Okay. Not really clicking with me, but we'll just take their word for it and roll the dice when it comes up. Because it's totally how you learn. Alright. Now, I must provide a little warning. I'm probably gonna frickin' not do well on this. So, yeah. But we're gonna struggle through it together. So let's go. This one, already off to a not very good start. It's like a sideways 7. Let's say it's E. It's new, okay. Foo. This is very not good. Sa? So, okay. Hey, nice. This one is going to be, I think, A, because it looks like an axe. Nice. Na is, I don't think it's this one, so I'm going to say it's that one. Nice. Key. Nice. No, probably not going to get this one right either. So we have a 1 in 4 chance right now. I can't process. I think I could process elimination this one. Do that. Okay, no. So it's just the stick. Cool. Nah. Oh, this one is moo. Nice, nice. Cat is gonna be this one. Chi. He. There's the other one. Unfortunate. He. See, te. Is it this one? Nice. We got se. Is that this one? Okay, cool. We're actually not doing as bad as I thought we'd be. This is ni. This is E because it's elevator doors. Slowly but surely coming back to me here. I think that's I. This one, not really too sure of. It's not moo. Don't think it's E. Must be ka. Oof. We got toe. Toe is gonna be, let's see here. I know it's not that one. I'm pretty sure it's not that one. Oh wait. Nice. Big process of elimination over here. This one. Oh, is this the side boob one? Is it? I don't really remember. Ma. Okay, it is. Bet. Tsu. I believe that is this dude. It is not. It's actually the kind of like half smile face, I guess. Me is going to be do re mi. Nice. Su. This one. Nice. We've got. I think we just saw this one too. Mo. Nice. Ka. Nez right there. Ko for corner. Sa. Nice. Cool. Oh. Let's see here. We'll go she. Nice. That was a complete stab in the dark. Then we got ta, which by process of elimination, I think it's this one. Nice. We got 9 wrong. That's honestly a lot better than I thought we would do, for sure. So we'll take that, but still got a job to do. So let's say foo is this dude. Then we got no. This is the stick. This is, I think it's one of the M's because it seems like we might have learned this pretty recently. Oh, man. Whew, nice. This one, I want to say so. It is so, bet. This one, not sure of. Off rip, not sure of it. Okay. Okay. Oh. So is this one? I believe he is this one. Oh boy. A little bit more coffee might be in order. New. Nice. Already forgot what this one is. Ha. Okay. 74, terrible for our standards. Oh, I can evolve? Sheesh. Let's see what this is about. Uh-oh. What happened? Let's get our roll. Common drop. Not a big fan, but it is what it is. Let's go down to, oh. You know what? Why not? Let's go down to words and throw ourselves in the deep end. And, yeah.
会社員会社員
Come again.
会社員
Kai Shain. Kai Shain. Company employee. So we gotta go Ka. Surprised they accepted that tracing, because that was not very pretty. E. Oof. A. Formerly known as Ya. And another I. And then N. No shot. They let this one slide. Oh, nice. All right. And then this. Oh, literally is this. Nice. And that is, was that? Oh, shit. Fat Finger McGee. Can we go back? Yeah, we did that. This indicating an item near the speaker, so you're like pointing to something. Beyond this, I know nothing. All right. Let's actually hear. Can we get the verbal?
これ
Kore?
これ
Kore? Oh, okay. Yeah, because that's ko. That would make sense, right? I was wondering what that was. Kore? Lively, full of energy. This is Oishi. Oishi is not sure. Oh, it's not that one. I think it's this one. No, good. It is the first one.
おいしい
Wushi. Okay. Pen. This is gonna be. Might just have to take the L on this one. Oh. Is it that one?
ペン
Pen. Hey, nice. This indicating a speaker. We just learned this one. This one.
これ
Kore.
これ
Kore. Range of dishes made with vinegared rice combined with fish. So sushi. So what's that? This is Nicho. think it's American person. Is it this? It's Sunday.
日曜日
Nichiobi. Nichiobi is Sunday. This one is Dio. I think it might be Saturday because it ends a similar way.
土曜日
Doyobi. This one is Nihonjin, Japanese person.
日本人
Kind, gentle, friendly, nice. Is this Ashi? This is Shinsetsu. Kyo. Hiho. Yasui. I think it's Yasui. No.
親切
Shinsetsu. Student, especially at university. Says Sayo. Actually, I'm not very confident about this one at all. It's not this one because that's Nihonjin. This one is Korea, so it's not that. It's between these two. Say. Let's go there. Oof, we got it
学
wrong.
生学生
Bakse. Famous, well known. Is that this one? No, I gotta stop
Yume.
guessing. Yume.
有名
Yume. Come. This one is Sayo. Sayo. I think it might be exam. No, it's today, this day.
今日今日今日
Oh. Kyo. Okay. Kiho. Or Himo. Something. Or no, I think it's Hiho. Difficult? Nope. Spare
日
time.
が
Hima. Ch. My mind is straight blanked right now. Selling so hard. Hyo. Hya. It's not that one. It's not this one. Is that? No.
部屋
Heya. Tomorrow. Shiken. Just getting all these
明
wrong.
日
Ashta, okay. As in hasta la vista. Alright. Busy, occupied, hectic. Restless, hurried, fidgety. That's definitely not what that is. But we're gonna keep it moving. Yasun. Yasui, I mean, that's what that is. I'm just gonna guess probably. It's crazy we got that right.
忙しい
Isogashi? Isokashi. Okay, Isogashi. Oh boy. Okay. We've got Isha, that is doctor, physician. Excuse me. Hot weather, etc. Uncomfortably warm.
Atsui
Atsui. Okay. Noted. We've got Kai Kaishain. Nice.
会社員
Hey, let's go. Cheap, inexpensive, calm, peaceful, quiet. Is that Genka? Oof.
安い
Yasui. Pencil. It's not that one. Probably not gonna get this one right either. This is Shiken. Heya. I don't think it's either of those two. Pishu. So it's gotta be that one.
鉛筆
Hey. Nice. Here, this place, that's Korea. I thought. Maybe not. This one?
ここ
Koko. Okay. Noted. High, tall, expensive, high priced, high, loud. Let me see. Yasui. I don't think it's that one. Maybe it's this one. We'll go there. Oof.
高い
Kakai. Genka or Genki. Difficult, hard, troublesome, complicated, borderline impossible. Is it this one? Nice.
難しい
Muzukashi. Muzukashi. Okay. Kuruma. Of course, thanks for GTA for helping me get that one. I would not be as easily correct if I didn't know what the armored Kuruma from GTA was. Shiken. Shiken is that you? Oof, it's exam. Good to know. You traditional? Let's see. I don't really know. So 1 and 4. Boom.
あなた
Anata. Handsome. Ah, nope.
ハンサム
Asamu. Okay. It's not that because that's sushi. An American person. Hey, nice.
アメリカ人アメリカ人アメリカ人
Amerikajin. Amerikajin. Okay. Oh, 16 wrong. We're gonna be here for a minute, and I gotta use the bathroom. This is crazy. Here, thus placed, here now. Example 3 years ago. I don't think it's that. Oh, it is nice. Koko.
ここ
You is going to be it's not that. Shiken? No.
あなた
Anata. We said this one. Takai. Let's go.
高い
Hey ya. Let's see here. It's not that. I don't think it's this one either.
部屋
Hey ya. Cheap, inexpensive, calm, peaceful, quiet. Genki? No, it's not that. Takai? That's the tall one. Yasui? I think it's this one. No, it is Yasui.
安い
Handsome is this one.
ハンサム
Atsamu. This is gonna be Shioi? I don't think that's right. But I also know it's not tomorrow. It's not doctor. I think it's you. No, it is today
Sure.
though. Cool. Student, especially university student. Let's see here. Kai. Shine. Oof.
学生学生
Bakse. Hot weather. That is. Let's see here. It's not Asui. It's not that one. I think it is that one. Nice.
暑い
Atsui. Kind, gentle, considerate, generous, friendly, nice. Shinsetsu. Aishi. Nice.
おいしい
Oishi. Sorry about that. Tomorrow. Ayata? No.
明日
Ashita. Tachi. So they're all days, technically. Go Sunday.
日曜日
Nichiobi. Famous, well known. It's not that one. Himo? No, Hiho?
有名
Yume? Okay. Shiken? It's exam, I believe.
試験
Okay. Hiho? I don't think it's Hiho. But I don't think it's this one. It's not that one. It's that one. Spare time.
暇
Hima. Okay. Alright, well, we got 8 right that time, I think. Cheap, inexpensive, calm, peaceful, quiet. We might be here all day. It's not Yasui. Asui.
安い
Yasui, okay. Hima. It's not handsome. Let's go.
暇
Hima. Yeah. Chamber.
部屋
Okay. Sheesh. I'm just cooked right now. This is crazy. Ashta? That student, especially, I don't think it's Coco. Is it Coco? No, it's not. Famous, well known. We're
有
cooked.
名
We are so cooked right now. This is gonna have to be my last one. I gotta freaking go to the bathroom, man. You, wow, I can't believe I got that. Anata, okay. Alright, be right back. back. I'm gonna go through these last 5, and then if we still have like 4 more left over, gonna just call it there on the Japanese portion before I lose my mind. I guess I won't lose my mind, but you know, sucking it. This doesn't feel too good. Heya is at room, chamber, apartment. Hey, yeah, let's go. Cheap, inexpensive, calm, peaceful, quiet. Is that Yasui?
安い
Hey, let's go. Crunch time player, let's go. Sayoi, I think. Let's go. It's today.
今日
Kyo? Okay. Student, especially university student. It's definitely not sushi. Anata or Gai Shin? Gaishi? I don't think it's that. It's this one, no?
学生
Bakse. Okay. Famous, well known. Probably not gonna get this one either. That?
有名
Yume. And this one we said is this one.
学生
Bakse. Okay. 45% craziness. We are very, there's very bad results. That's all good. Got this poll. I don't even know what I think about this, so I'll just keep going. Let's go into a little bit of verbal auditory, as they say, practice. I did a little stretch for the one time, and let's see. We'll do like 5 or so minutes of this. Just vibe out. And we'll go into maybe some other stuff.
カフェに行ったり、アートの個展に行ったり、ジムに行ったり、夜桜を見たりします。
Jimu ni
シャドーイ
itari.
ングの練習にも使ってみてください。これは瓦と言います。屋根に使います。今から行くカフェは瓦屋さんがやっているカフェです。
The vibes are not,
ここにも
I don't know. It's kind of overcast here. At least not here, but like in this video. And yeah, I don't know. The vibes just aren't as good as some of the sunny videos, you know?
はい、
あと昨日今日限定でラップサンド
ラップサンド。おー、
は
はいい、
あるのと、あと全粒粉のスコーンと
はい。
中に焼き菓子ございますので、よろしければご一緒にご覧ください。
All these symbols popping up right here are kind of like boggling my mind, not gonna lie.
せっかくだからというのは、こ
Sekkaku
こでのチャン
dakara.
スを無駄にしないというような意味です。どうする？なんかせっかくだからさ、一個食べない？あ、じゃあそうしよっか。それを、私もあれでっていうか、そんなにちょっとくれない？別のお客さんがいるので待ちます。では改めて注文します。
こちらでお召し上がりでよろしいですか？
はい
はい、ありがとうございます。
こちらでお召し上がりでよろしいですか？は、ここで食べますか？飲みますか？
Kokode.
という意味です。 召し上がるは食べるのとても丁寧な言い方
Excuse
で
me.
す。お店の人がよく使います。
あれ、これとこれの違いは何ですか？
ですね、ラテが普通のカフェラテになってて、
はい
カワララテがそのカフェラテの中に活性炭という食べる炭を入れてるような真っ黒なカフェラテに。
へえ、あ、
瓦
Activated
は
charcoal.
黒いので
Sounds pretty nice.
も黒いようです。
じゃあ私はそのカワララテの
はい
ホットで、
カワララテのハタで、
はい、お願いします。
カワララテのホットで、
はい
桜アート
桜田はい、もちろんです。
Cherry blossom art.
もちろんです。
Sounds interesting.
桜がもうすぐ咲く頃だったので、桜のラテアートをやっていました。真っ黒なラテに桜のピンク。きっと綺麗だと思います。
ホットのカワララテお2つとスコーンがお1つですね。
はい。
お会計が1490円のお会計になります。
はい。じゃあペイペ
はい、
イ
ペイペイ
で
ですね。
か？
ペイペイがこっちの右側の QR の読み込みからお願いいたします。
はい
読み込みはスキャンするということです。
Scan means to scan. Haters gonna hate? Nice.
番号は2番でお呼びさせていただくのと、あとちょっと朝まだ少し冷えると思うので、皆さんにカイロをお配りしてるんで、よかったらこちらもぜひご利用いただきながら。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
お店の人がカイロをくれました。カイロは袋を開けると暖かくなります。
Heat pad? Heat pad, that pouch.
いいもの
Lovely.
です。
Gotta love this translator.
ここに瓦版と書いてあり
Kawada
ます。
Newspaper.
瓦
Okay,
版
cool.
というのは新聞ができる前の時代の
It's interesting. Kawadaban and Shinbun both mean newspaper.
さっきのスタッフの方がオーストラリアに行ったことが書いてありました。瓦屋さんのニュースを伝えるのに瓦版という名前はぴったりでした。ぴったりというのはよく合うという意味です。
Alright, we're gonna call it there for the Japanese portion before, like I said earlier, I lose my mind. We're gonna switch over, we're gonna do some, working on some of our, I guess, technical skills with some Khan Academy, get our math skills up, and then after we'll chill out, watch some interesting videos, let our curiosity get the best of us. So let's go. Properties of limits, theorem for composite functions, and see what
In this video,
this is
we're going
all
to
about.
understand limits of composite functions, or at least a way of thinking about limits of composite functions. And in particular, we're going to think about the case where we're trying to find the limit as x approaches a of f of g of x. And we're going to see under certain circumstances, this is going to be equal to f of the limit as x approaches a of g of x. And what are those circumstances, you are asking? Well, this is going to be true if and only if two things are true. First of all, this limit needs to exist. So the limit as x approaches a of g of x needs to exist.
It's got to exist from both
That needs
sides.
to exist.
Got to
On
have the
top of
same
that,
point.
The function f needs to be continuous at this point. And f continuous at L. So let's look at some examples and see if we can apply this idea, or see if we can't apply it. So here I have two functions that are graphically represented right over here. Let me make sure I have enough space for them. And what we see on the left-hand side is our function f. And what we see
Immediately, it
on
looks
the
like one's
right-hand side is
continuous
our
for the
function
most part, and the other is not.
So first, let's figure out what is the limit as x approaches negative 3 of f of g of x. Pause this video and see, first of all, Does this theorem apply? And if it does apply, what is this limit?
So f of g of x equals f of the limit of g of x as x approaches a. Okay, so it's just saying that they equal each other, I think. So, and it must be continuous. So the limit of f of g of x as x approaches -3. Looks like, let's see here. So it absolutely exists in this f graph, and I think it exists in this g graph too, but in the g graph, it looks like it might not be continuous because there's that hole, but I could be wrong. It's kind of just a stab in the dark.
So the first thing we need to see is, does this theorem apply? So first of all, if we were to find the limit as x approaches -3 of g of x, what is that? Well, when we're approaching -3 from the right, it looks like our function is actually at 3. And it looks like when we're approaching -3 from the left, it looks like our function is at 3. So it looks like this limit is 3, even though the value, g of -3 is -2, but it's a point discontinuity. As we approach it from either side, the value of the function is at 3. So this thing is going to be 3. So it exists, so we meet that first condition. And then the second question is our function f continuous at this limit, continuous at 3? So when x equals 3, yeah, it looks like at that point our function is definitely continuous.
I see, I think.
And so we could say that this limit is going to be the same thing as this equals f of the limit as x approaches -3 of g of x, close the parentheses. And we know that this is equal to 3, and we know that f of 3 is going to be equal to -1. So this met the conditions for this theorem, and we were able to use the theorem to actually solve this limit.
I'm not sure I got that, but let's rewind a little bit.
This limit is going to be the same thing as this equals f of the limit as x approaches -3 of g of x, close the parentheses. And we know that this is equal to 3.
Oh, I see.
We know that f
Okay.
of 3 is going to be equal to -1. So this met the conditions for this theorem, and we were able to use the theorem to actually solve this limit.
Cool. Let's continue.
In a previous video, we used this theorem to evaluate certain types of composite functions. In this video, we'll do a few more examples that get a little bit more involved. So let's say we wanted to figure out the limit as x approaches 0 of f of g of x. F of g of x. First of all, pause this video and think about whether this theorem even applies.
I'm pretty sure we did this in this last video, no? Oh no, it's to 3, I think. Maybe. As x goes to 0, g of x equals L. Okay. So g of x as x approaches 0, that looks like 2. So f of 2 is going to be, the limit of f of 2 would be 0.
Well, the first thing to think about is, what is the limit as x approaches 0 of g of x?
But it might not be continuous, maybe?
Condition. So if we look at g of x right over here, as x approaches 0 from the left, it looks like g is approaching 2. As x approaches 0 from the right, it looks like g is approaching 2. And so it looks like this is going to be equal to 2. So that's a check. Now let's see the second condition. Is f continuous at that limit, at 2? So when x is equal to 2, it does not look like f is continuous. So we do not meet this second condition right over here, so we can't just directly apply this theorem. But just because you can't apply the theorem does not mean that the limit doesn't necessarily exist. For example, in this situation, the limit actually does exist. One way to think about it, when x approaches 0 from the left, it looks like g is approaching 2 from above. And so that's going to be the input into f. And so if we are now approaching 2 from above, here's the input into f, it looks like our function is approaching 0. And then we can go the other way. If we are approaching 0 from the right over here, it looks like the value of our function is approaching 2 from below. Now if we approach 2 from below, it looks like the value of f is approaching 0. So in both of these scenarios, our value of our function f is approaching 0. So I wasn't able to use this theorem, but I am able to figure out that this is going to be equal to 0. Now let me give you another example. Let's say we wanted to figure out the limit as x approaches 2 of f of g of x. Pause this video. It will.
So the limit of g of x as x approaches 2. A little bit of discontinuity there. So it looks like from the left it approaches -2, from the right it approaches 0. So there's two separate limits. Would that just be it doesn't exist? That would be my guess. Let's see what he says.
Theorem even apply? Well, we first want to see what is the limit as x approaches 2 of g of x. When we look at approaching 2 from the left, it looks like g is approaching -2. When we approach x equals 2 from the right, it looks like g is approaching 0. So our right and left-hand limits are not the same here, so this thing does not exist.
Nice.
Not exist. And so we don't meet this condition right over here, so we can't apply the theorem. But as we've already seen, just because you can't apply the theorem does not mean that the limit does not exist. But if you like pondering things, I encourage you to see that this limit doesn't exist by doing very similar analysis to the one that I did for our first example.
Let's keep going.
All right, let's get a little more practice taking limits of composite functions. So here we want to figure out what is a limit as x approaches -1 of g of h of x. And the function g, we see it defined graphically here on the
Let me try this. H of x as x approaches -1. There's discontinuity, but I think he said that it can still be. You can still do it. See what he says.
Pause this video and have a go at this. All right, now your first temptation might be to say, all right, well, what is the limit as x approaches -1 of h of x? And if that limit exists, then input that into g. So if you take the limit as x approaches -1 of h of x, you see that you have a different limit as you approach from the right than when you approach from the left. So your temptation might be to give up at this point. But what we'll do in this video is to realize that this composite limit actually exists, even though the limit as x approaches -1 of h of x does not exist. So how do we figure this out? Well, what we can do is take right-handed and left-handed limits. Let's first figure out what is the limit as x approaches -1 from the right-hand side of g of h of x. H of x. Well, to think about that, what is the limit of h as x approaches -1 from the right-hand side? So as we approach -1 from the right-hand side, it looks like h is approaching -2. So another way to think about it is, this is going to be equal to the limit as h of x approaches -2. And what direction is it approaching -2 from? Well, it's approaching -2 from values larger than -2. H of x is decreasing down to -2 as x approaches -1 from the right. So it's approaching from values larger than -2 of g of h of x. G of h of x. Color coding it, you'll be able to keep track of things. And so this is analogous to saying, what is the limit as, if you think about it as x approaches -2 from the positive direction of g. Here, h is just the input into g. So the input into g is approaching -2 from above, from the right, I should say, from values larger than -2. And we can see that g is approaching 3. So this right over here is going to be equal to 3. Now let's take the limit as x approaches
G of h of x. What? The limit of h of x as x approaches -2 from the right. Okay.
So now let's take the limit as x approaches -1 from the left of g of h of x. So what we could do is first think about, well, what is h approaching as x approaches -1 from the left? So as x approaches -1
-3.
from the left, it looks like h is approaching -3. So we could say this is the limit as h of x is approaching -3, and it is approaching -3 from values greater than -3. It's going, h of x is approaching -3 from above, or we could say from values greater than -3, and then of g of h of x. So another way to think about it, what is the limit as the input to g approaches -3 from the right? So as we approach -3 from the right, g is right here at 3. And so this is going to be equal to 3 again. And so notice, the right hand limit and the left hand limit, in this case, are both equal to 3. And so when the right hand and the left hand limit is equal to the same thing, we know that the limit is equal to that thing. And this is a pretty cool example because the limit of, you could say, I guess, the internal function right over here of h of x did not exist, but the limit of the composited function still exists.
Okay. Limits of composite functions. I guess we read the, or we watch
Over here I
this.
have two functions that have been visually or graphically defined. On the left here, I have the graph of g of x, and on the right here, I have the graph of h of x. And what I want to do is figure out what is the limit of g of h of x as x approaches 1. Pause this video and see if you can figure that out.
H is so h of x as it approaches 1, that is going to be 2 from both directions. So plug 2 in here. As x approaches 2, as you can see, there's some discontinuity. So my guess would be maybe now it doesn't exist.
All right, now let's do this together. Now the first thing that you might try to say is, all right, let's just figure out first the limit as x approaches 1 of h of x. And when you look at that, what is that going to be? Well, as we approach 1 from the left, it looks like h of x is approaching 2. And as we approach from the right, it looks like h of x is approaching 2. So it looks like this is just going to be 2. And then we say, okay, well, maybe we could then just input that into g. So what is g
That's
of 2?
what I did.
Well, g of 2 is 0, but the limit doesn't seem defined. It looks like when we approach 2 from the right, we're approaching 0. And when we approach 2 from the left, we're approaching negative 2. So maybe this limit doesn't exist. But if you're thinking that, we haven't fully thought through it. Because what we could do is think about this limit in terms of both left-handed and right-handed limits. So let's think of it this way. First, let's think about what is the limit as x approaches 1 from the left-hand side of g of h of x. All right, when you think about it this way, if we're approaching 1 from the left, right over here, we see that we are approaching 2 from the left, I guess you could say, or we're approaching 2 from below. And so the thing that we are inputting into g of x is approaching 2 from below. So the thing that we are inputting into g is approaching 2 from below. So if you approach 2 from below, right over here, what is g approaching? It looks like g is approaching negative 2. So this looks like it is going to be equal to negative 2, at least this left-handed limit. Now let's do a right-handed limit. What is the limit as x approaches 1 from the right hand of g of h of x?
0.
Well, we can do the same exercise. As we approach 1 from the right, it looks like h is approaching 2 from below, from values less than 2. And so if we are approaching 2 from below, because remember, whatever h is outputting is the input into g. So if the thing that we're inputting g into g is approaching 2 from below, that means that g, once again, is going to be approaching negative 2.
Oh.
So this is a really, really, really interesting case where the limit of g of x as x approaches 2 does not exist. But because on h of x, when we approach from both the left and the right-hand side, h is approaching 2 from below, we just have to think about the left-handed limit as we approach 2 from below or from the left on g. Because in both situations, we are approaching negative 2. And so that is going.
So this peak here means that there is, what am I trying to say? I guess the y values that you're, as you approach, you know, your point affect which direction, you approach from on the main function.
Going to be our
I
limit.
worded that bad,
When the
but
left-handed and the right-handed limit are the same, that is going to be your limit. It is equal to negative 2.
okay. Alright, next let's go to this exercise and see what it's looking like, see how bad we do. Okay, so f of x as x approaches 3 looks like negative 1 from both directions, so let's plug that into g of x, so negative 1. Looks like there's some discontinuity. 3 from the left does not exist. Nice. Let's go. As x approaches 2, so g of x, the limit of g of x as x, so that would just be 2. So let's plug 2 into this. We get 3. Oof. That should be 2, no? Not really sure about this one, to be honest. Doesn't exist. Okay. As x approaches -1, you can see that the limit here in g of x is 3. So let's plug 3 into here. And it looks like 1. Limit of h of f of x as x approaches -3. So an f of x at -3. So this might be the inverse of that example one that he showed us. So from the right, we're approaching, so both directions we're approaching from greater than -3 in terms of, or greater from 1 in terms of y values. So we're going to both go in, let me think. So 1's right here. So it should just be 1. No? Oh, would I like to start over? I'm going to start over, but I want to see what this one is really quick. It's... oh boy. U and V are functions such as that limit v of x equals L. Okay. Let's see. Okay, it's equal to 1. So let me make sure that h is continuous at x equals 1. Okay, so it doesn't exist. Okay, I see. Let's go back to it. Could have got that one right. Keep on practicing. Yeah, let's try this again. Oh, shoot. Says I'm 100% on this one. Limits of composite functions. Let's do this. As x approaches -3. Looks like the limit might not exist. It could still. -3. No, it wouldn't exist. Let's go, okay. As x approaches 0, let's see h of x. As x approaches 0 from the right. Okay, it looks like 0, or it looks like, yeah, it looks like 0. So then, looks like it might be -1, but it could be a red herring, it might not exist. I'm gonna bite the bullet and say -1. Okay, cool. As x approaches -2, looks like 1 on h of x, and then as x approaches 1 over here, we get 1. So it looks like it'd be 1. Nice. Alright. As x approaches 0 on h of x, we get that would go into -1. But this asymptote here tells me that this limit doesn't exist. Lovely. Just cooked right there. Hell yeah. Lesson 6.
So let's see if we can find the limit as x approaches -1 of 6x squared plus 5x minus 1. Now, the first thing that might jump out at you is this right over here. This expression could be used to define the graph of a parabola. And when you think about this, I'm not doing a rigorous proof here. A parabola would look something like this, and this would be an upward opening parabola. Looks something like this. It is this graph visually is continuous. You don't see any jumps or gaps in it. And in general, a quadratic like this is going to be defined for all values of x for all real numbers, and it's going to be continuous for all real numbers. And so if something is continuous for all real numbers, well then the limit as x approaches some real number is going to be the same thing as just evaluating the expression at that real number. So what am I saying? I'm just going to say it another way. We know that some function is continuous at some x value at x equals a if and only if, all right, that is if and only if the limit as x approaches a of f of x is equal to f of a. So I didn't do a rigorous proof here, but just it's conceptually not a big jump to say, okay, well this is just a standard quadratic right over here. It's defined for all real numbers, and in fact it's continuous for all real numbers. And so we know that this expression, it could define a continuous function. So that means that the limit as x approaches a for this expression is just the same thing as evaluating this expression at a. And in this case, our a is -1. So all I have to do is evaluate this at -1. This is going to be 6 times -1 squared plus 5 times -1 minus 1. So that's just 1. This is -5. So it's 6 minus 5 minus 1, which is equal to 0. And we are done.
Simple. Lovely. Alright. Let's see. The limit of root 5 minus 11x. But as x approaches -1, so -11 times -1, that would be positive 11. So it would be root 16 is 4. Cool. Okay, 5 squared, 25. 3 minus 25 is -22. -22 over -22 over 11. Hopefully that's an acceptable answer. Okay. -2. Okay. Should have got that the first time. 0 cubed is 0. -3 times 0 is 0. So it's 8. -3 times 7, it's -21, so it's root 1. Nice. Easy money. Four out of 4, heck yeah. We love to see it.
Let's see if we can figure out the limit of x over natural log of x as x approaches 1. And like always, pause this video and see if you can figure it out on your own. Well, we know from our limit properties, this is going to be the same thing as the limit as x approaches 1 of x over the limit as x approaches 1 of the natural log of x. Now, this top limit, the one I have in magenta, this is pretty straightforward. This, if we had the graph of y equals x, that would be continuous everywhere. It's defined for all real numbers and it's continuous at all real numbers. And so it's continuous. The limit as x approaches 1 of x is just going to be this evaluated at x equals 1. So this is just going to be 1. We just put a 1 in for this x. So the numerator here would just evaluate to a 1. And then the denominator, natural log of x is not defined for all x's, and therefore it isn't continuous everywhere, but it is continuous at x equals 1. And since it is continuous at x equals 1, then the limit here is just going to be the natural log evaluated at x equals 1. So this is just going to be the natural log of 1, which of course is 0. E to the 0 power is 1. So this is all going to be equal to, we just evaluated, 1 over 0. And now we face a bit of a conundrum. 1 over 0 is not defined. If it was 0 over 0, we wouldn't necessarily be done yet. That's indeterminate form. As we will learn in the future, there are tools we can apply when we're trying to find limits and we evaluate it like this and we get 0 over 0. But 1 over 0, this is undefined, which tells us that this limit does not exist. So, does not exist. And we are done.
Nice. Alright, let's do this exercise. X equal as x approaches 1, so it's negative 10 over 8. It's negative 5/4. Alright, as x approaches 1, so 2 on the numerator, 1 minus 8, or 1 minus 7, negative 6, 0. The limit does not exist because you can't divide by 0. As x approaches negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. 16 over 13. Can that be simplified? No. Okay. Alright. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 squared is 0. 4 over 0 does not exist. Nice. Easy money. Alright. That's probably going to do it for this little math portion we were rocking out, right? Recently. I'm going to look at what all we have left in this unit. Oh, we're pretty close to our quiz 2. That'll be a fun time. I have to do it tomorrow if I'm on my shit, as they say. Let's go to YouTube here and let's see. What do we want to watch? Let's watch this.
What if I told you that your fridge, that humming box in the kitchen, could be cooled without gas, without chemicals, and just magnets? It sounds futuristic, but researchers and companies are already making it happen. It not only promises higher efficiency, but solves a critical problem with the status quo. Yes, a critical problem that even my beloved heat pumps have. The thing is, we need an alternative to refrigerants. Caloric cooling is one alternative, and one US research team claims that magnetocalorics in particular are already on their way to replacing our current coolants with systems that are much more attractive. But how do you control the temperature with a solid material rather than a refrigerant gas? And what makes magnetocalorics stand out? And is this cooling tech solid enough to redefine what it means to be a fridge magnet? I'm Matt Farrell. Welcome to Undecided. This video is brought to you by Incogni. Magnetocalorics may not be mainstream, but they're not moving at a glacial pace. A few new commercial products have already hit the market that cool with magnets. One German company is already selling a beverage cooler and offering pre-orders for a 2-door commercial refrigerator. At the end of last year, you could grab yourself a drink out of a functioning fridge displayed by a French German company at a heating and cooling technology trade fair. And shortly after that, a major update came from the Ames National Laboratory in the US that kicked off our investigation into this topic. This is our second dive into the world of caloric cooling, so if you caught our earlier video on elasticalorics, some of this might ring a bell. But I promise there's a very big material difference here. Instead of stretching the limits of refrigeration tech, today we'll be talking about how researchers have been throwing magnets at the wall to see what sticks. The vapor compression cycle behind our freezers and HVAC systems is centuries old. At its core, it's all about phase changes, nature's clever trick that lets 5 billion heat pumps, fridges, and ACs shuffle heat around to keep us comfortable. But as elegant as that system is, it relies heavily on refrigerants, mostly hydrofluorocarbons, or HFCs, that change phase throughout the cycle. As you probably know, HFCs come with some serious environmental baggage. It's clear our approach to climate control could use an upgrade, and swapping refrigerants for magnets might be just the retooling that we need. To understand the greater study of caloric cooling, we first have to understand what we're working with. If you weren't around for our first exploration into caloric effects, or maybe your memory just vaporized, here's a compressed refresher. Our current generation of cooling units, whether it's a window AC or an old school icebox, are all heat exchangers. And a heat exchanger is just a machine that moves heat from a hotter place to a cooler one. Most cooling devices rely on 4 main components: a compressor,
magnet cooling must just be creating cool air
and these make up the vapor compression
without
cycle.
displacing
It breaks
warm
down
air.
into 4 key steps. First up is the compressor. It boosts the temperature and the pressure of the refrigerant vapor. Then the condenser kicks in, turning that vapor into a liquid, releasing heat in the process. Next, the expander drops the pressure of the refrigerant. As it expands, it cools down, colder than the space that we want to chill. Finally, the evaporator absorbs heat from the surrounding area, vaporizing the refrigerant. And just like that, the cycle repeats with the compressor grabbing that warm vapor and starting all over again. Now you can confidently explain how your fridge works, which is perfect for the next time you need a cool icebreaker. But this method is everywhere. Given that vapor compression dates back to the 19th century, it's fair to say our refrigerators have been running strong for a long time. So how could magnets possibly catch up and improve on that? Well, before we flip the polarity on traditional cooling, let's take a quick break, because while magnets might solve one kind of problem, today's sponsor tackles a very different one. I was stuck under a massive brokers. They've sent legal requests. Use code UNDISPUTED for supporting the channel. All right, now that we've handled the data overload, let's get back to the thermal overload. Magnetocalorics, or magnetic cooling, have been an ongoing field of study for researchers interested in dumping refrigerants, or maybe no longer having to worry about the consequences of dumping refrigerants. Anyway, scientists have tinkered with the concept of magnetic refrigeration for decades. The reason why magnetocalorics is suddenly attracting attention, however, is partly due to the recent prototypes that researchers claim have achieved parity with existing vapor compression cycles. So how is this possible? Well, lucky for us, this process can also be broken down into 4 steps, just like the vapor compression cycle. In fact, all forms of caloric cooling parallel the vapor compression cycle. A hypothetical HVAC based on caloric effects would effectively be substituting refrigerants for any material when manipulated that changes temperature. You start with a caloric material, which could be anything from rubber to ceramic, as opposed to a gaseous refrigerant. Then you apply force. Seriously. In our previous video on the topic, I showed off the elastocaloric effect, which is based on mechanically stressing, or in other words, bending, a material like these nitinol wires. And guess what, kids? You can try this at home. Just like refrigerants, elastocaloric materials undergo phase changes that alternatively cool them down and heat them up. But caloric cooling doesn't always need physical force. As opposed to mechanical stress, electrocaloric devices expose certain materials to electric fields so they can change phases. And you can probably tell where I'm going with this. Magnetocalorics involves subjecting the right kind of material to a magnetic field to accomplish the same exact thing. So what is the right kind of material? Well, magnetocaloric cooling may be a marvel, but we won't be needing any telepathy-blocking helmets to get the desired effect. Store-bought magnetism is fine. Let me introduce you to gadolinium, neutron poison, friend radiologist, and the 64th element in the periodic table. While you might already know the metal for its applications in keeping nuclear reactors under control and scanning our brains, it also has the potential to develop into something that's a lot more, well, domestic. That's because gadolinium is one blade in our magnetocaloric multi-tool. In other words, gadolinium is one of the most common materials that these devices can apply magnetic fields to. So what does that look like in practice? Well, I'll answer that question by taking you through the inner workings of a device that's newly developed by the U.S. Department of Energy Ames National Laboratory. In December of 2024, the Iowa State University research team, led by Julie Slaughter, announced the completion of a magnetocaloric heat pump, or MCHP, that they claim can match current vapor compression heat pumps for weight, cost, and performance. For this particular iteration, the research team studied the magnetocaloric effects of both gadolinium and LaFeSi, an alloy of lanthanum, iron, and silicon. We'll get into why LaFeSi matters later though, but to start, the Ames lab team created their baseline device using gadolinium. So let's map out exactly where and how it does its thing. Inside the middle of the heat pump's cylindrical housing lies the active magnetic regenerator, or AMR. Now, if you're not familiar, don't let the acronym intimidate you, like it did me initially. A regenerator is just another type of heat exchanger in the broader family tree. Nice. What makes regenerators different than other types of heat exchangers is that both the hot and cold streams cross over the same paths. But their goal is the same as any other: get the heat away from the hot area and bring it to the colder one. As for what active magnetic means, well, the basic concept is that magnetic material plays 2 roles, as both the foundation of the regenerator and the stand-in for the refrigerant itself. The Ames model AMR consists of 9 beds arranged into a ring. The AMR is porous, not unlike a foam mattress actually. These hold a bunch of tightly packed gadolinium particles, each only about 200 microns across, so about the size of a very fine coffee ground. At the start of the regenerative cycle, these particles are demagnetized, or more precisely, they're not yet magnetized. They're just kind of asleep in their beds. And speaking of coffee, you know how some people can't function in the morning until they've had their coffee?
Me.
Well, if you think about it, you could call coffee a working fluid. It's definitely conducive to working. Magnetocaloric devices just tend to prefer a steaming cup of water instead, typically with a little shot of something extra for practical flavor. The Ames prototype will have its working fluid with 1 pump of anti-corrosion agent, please. Or at least that's what lead author Julie Slaughter confirmed via email. Now, while I don't think you'll be able to order this drink off of a secret menu anytime soon, it gets a very important job done. It flows into the AMR beds hot and ready to begin the cooling process. Even with a don't even talk to me until mug in hand, the gadolinium particles are still disorderly. To jolt them upright and activate them, you need a magnetic field. That's where a set of permanent magnets step in. And by step in, I really mean spin in, because in the Ames heat pump, these magnets are set into a central circuit that rotates. As they pass by each stationary AMR bed, the gadolinium magnetizes and gets hot. Then as the magnetic field moves over the next bed, that array is no longer exposed to it and it loses magnetization. This causes the gadolinium temperature to drop and get cold, similar to what happens when you depressurize a gas refrigerant in a traditional compressor. From there, the working fluid cools, then moves to the hotter end of the heat pump's internal core. The setup demagnetizes and the cycle starts again.
Well, magnetization can produce
the cool thing about this arrangement
heating or
is that
cooling
because the magnets
effects.
are rotating, they're constantly magnetizing and demagnetizing each bed in turn, and therefore alternatively heating and cooling them off. Here's what it looks like in action. Of course, the Ames lab research team did not invent this specific approach. In fact, the other magnetocaloric devices that we're going to show off in this video work using a rotating circuit. The focus of Ames' study wasn't the design of the prototype, it was the optimization. Remember that other magnetocaloric material, LaFeSci? Once the researchers got the initial design with the gadolinium down pat, the goal was to improve the system power density, or SPD. As explained in the paper, SPD is the thermal power in watts divided by device mass in kilograms, which is a quick way to compare magnetocaloric heat pumps with compressors. So power divided by mass, or basically bang for your buck. After all, it isn't that magnetocaloric heat pumps haven't been proven to work. It's that, just like earlier iterations of computers, they're currently too big and therefore too expensive for home use. Less bulk, less price. Part of Ames Lab's efforts in increasing SPD not only came down to finding the best way to align the permanent magnets and the AMR beds, but also figuring out how much material they could cut down on and the best materials to use. The team's analysis projected that just by swapping gadolinium with LaFeSci, the SPD shot up without even having to
School
modify
different materials
anything else.
produce different,
In their
like
words,
substantially
using
different
LaFeSci
effects
could allow MCHPs
under,
to become
similar
competitive with typical
conditions.
cooling devices up to 1 kilowatt of cooling power, leaving cost parity within reach. The Ames lab isn't done yet though. By the researchers' estimate, it'll be another 3 to 6 months before the performance evaluation for this iteration of their MCHP is complete. In the meantime, you can find researchers exploring magnetocalorics on the more commercial side in Europe. The French-German startup Magnoric, headquartered in Dubinheim and operating since 2019, is at work developing a refrigeration prototype. In October 2024, Magnoric debuted its magnetocaloric display cabinet at Chilventa, a heating and cooling tech trade fair. The company not only showed off that the refrigerator works, but proved its mettle by handing out cold drinks kept inside. In a press release for the event, Magnoric explained that it's now entering the pre-industrialization phase for larger units exceeding 6 kilowatts. These are for big use cases with high demand, like supermarkets and data centers. But even Magnoric itself is clear that as effective as magnetocalorics are, they're still in the research phase. Though the company says industrialization is imminent.
I wonder if they're
That
going to
claim
find
doesn't
any
seem to be
runoff
too
side
far
effects
off
from
because
this,
Magnoric isn't the only
like down
European
the
company
line.
bringing magnetocaloric refrigeration to the forefront. A short drive away from Magnoric's HQ lies Magnotherm in Darmstadt, Germany. Now, these two companies may share similar names and the same founding year, but what sets Magnotherm apart is its catalog. You can already get your hands on a magnetocaloric chiller for a cool 6,500 euros, or about $7,000. Then there's the company's Eclipse model, a 2-door glass case with
That shit's
clearly
probably going to be the
laid out
price of a
specs.
car.
However, as you've probably noticed, both Magnotherm and Magnoric are targeting commercial industries. You can't exactly store your Thanksgiving turkey in Magnotherm's Polaris cooler, and the Eclipse, like Magnoric's prototype, is for
I wonder how
large-scale
effective these are at
applications,
cooling.
retail, hospitality, and medicine. That just goes back to the whole point of Ames Labs research, determining the best way to make magnetocaloric devices cheaper and more compact, and therefore more practical. As of right now, cost is the age-old barrier to picking up a magnetic-powered fridge or heat pump at a hardware store. For those of you that have already seen our video on elastocalorics, you might still have a lingering question. Why invest in magnets? Research indicates that elastocalorics specifically have already beaten out magnetocalorics in terms of performance, sort of just by nature. It's easier to apply stress to something than it is to control a magnetic field. You also have to consider how permanent magnets are already highly sought after goods in the renewables industry alone, not to mention their other applications. As written in a 2023 paper on elasticalorics, magnetocaloric materials and devices have been explored for almost 50 years, with kilowatt range cooling power refrigeration systems being demonstrated. Their high magnetic field requirement has, however, hampered commercialization. Of course, not everything elastic is fantastic. Magnoric's argument is that elasticalorics, while highly efficient and quiet, they have to contend with a more limited lifespan, at least until researchers figure out how to preserve or improve the durability of elasticaloric materials. Stressing components further breaks them down, even when the cool results of that stress is what you
being
want.
elastic and all sound like they might not be as structured, maybe as magnocalorics.
We go in depth into these challenges in our first video and my follow-up interview with Dr. Ichiro Takeuchi from the University of Maryland about their work. I also have an interview with Dr. Julie Slaughter about her work on magnetocalorics. There's also the fact that elasticalorics are the baby of the solid-state cooling house. Interest in the tech is still very much new, especially when you compare it to its magnetic older sibling. By the time this video publishes, the International Elasticaloric Society's second conference won't have even happened yet. So you could say that magnetocalorics have the maturity advantage here. At the end of the day, though, any cooling device that can function without refrigerants is critical to the progress of the clean energy transition. It promises both better efficiency and fewer risks to human and environmental health. And if nothing else, the concept of solid-state cooling is real gas. But what do you think? Could magnetocalorics hold an iron grip on refrigeration someday? Or are MCHPs a little too polarizing for your taste? Jump in the comments and let me know. And be sure to listen to my follow-up podcast, Still to Be Determined.
All right, that was a cool video, very interesting. A little glimpse into the future. Let's like that, dude. Like it up. All right. At first I thought this channel was about tech, but now I realize that it is merely an accelerant for the puns. Ah, nice. Let's see here. What do we want to watch? Let's watch this about batteries. Why not? Batteries are pretty important.
Sodium-ion battery technology isn't exactly new, but something interesting is happening. CATL, the world's biggest lithium battery manufacturer, says that up to half the market could switch to sodium. That's right, the biggest name in
Never
lithium
heard of a
batteries
sodium
is betting
battery.
against lithium. Looks like lithium might need to recharge its reputation. After all, sodium-ion batteries are nearly as good as lithium, and salt is much cheaper and easier to access than lithium. So maybe it's not that surprising that CATL and some other companies are getting ready to manufacture huge numbers of them in preparation for what could be a massive market shift. But is sodium really the future of energy storage? Or is it just another battery technology destined to live in lithium-ion shadow? I'm Matt Farrell. Welcome to Undecided. This video is brought to you by Surfshark. As I mentioned, CATL is the world's largest battery manufacturer. And for perspective, in 2023, CATL's batteries made up around 40% of the global market. That's absolutely massive, and a good reason to take the company's views on battery tech seriously. So it's pretty interesting that in a November 2024 interview with Reuters, CATL co-founder Robin Zhang pushed back on the idea that solid-state batteries are the next big thing. Instead, he argued that sodium-ion batteries are the better bet, one with the potential to replace up to half the market that CATL currently dominates. And this isn't just talk. CATL already offers a sodium battery as part of its FreeVoy battery pack, a hybrid system combining lithium and sodium batteries for long-range EVs. That's surprising, considering sodium's biggest drawback, its lower energy density. Usually means bulkier, heavier batteries, and in EVs, every ounce and inch matters. But CATL isn't stopping there. The company is set to launch a second-generation sodium battery later this year,
So
claiming an energy density of over 200 watt-hours per kilogram.
the
That's
main
still below
downside to
today's best lithium-ion
sodium
batteries at
ion as
around
opposed to
300
lithium
watt-hours per
ion
kilogram,
is
but it's a big
the
leap from its
essentially
predecessor
just
at
energy
160 watt-hours
per
per kilogram, and a sign of
mass.
serious progress. CATL isn't alone in this push. Companies worldwide are ramping up sodium-ion battery production, preparing for what could be a massive market shift. But are sodium batteries truly the next big thing? And if so, what potential does Robin Zhang and the rest of the industry see in them? The concept behind sodium-ion batteries, or SIBs, is pretty straightforward. Sodium behaves a lot like lithium, so SIBs share essentially the same structure as their lithium-ion cousins. They also have a comparable round-trip efficiency, or RTE, meaning that you get back nearly the same amount of energy that you put in. But there's a trade-off. SIBs are less energy dense than lithium-ion batteries, which has historically limited their applications. So why is the battery industry so excited about SIBs if they're almost as good as lithium but still lacking in key areas? Well, salt is a lot more accommodating. It's vastly more abundant. I mean, there's an entire ocean full of it. It's also easier to extract and doesn't require the destructive mining practices needed for lithium and other precious metals. All this makes SIBs cheaper, more sustainable, and less vulnerable to supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions. Beyond cost and sustainability, SIBs have other advantages. Their chemistry gives them excellent resistance to extreme temperatures. They're less prone to thermal runaway and actually perform better in cold conditions than lithium-ion batteries.
That's
Now, to be fair,
interesting.
thermal runaway is fairly rare in lithium-ion batteries. You won't have an issue unless you're like dropping your laptop or taking a sledgehammer to it. But in large-scale energy storage where hundreds of batteries are packed together, safety matters. If you're setting up a solar farm in a hot, dry, wildfire-prone region, say the US Southwest or much of Australia, SIBs might be the smarter, safer choice. That cold resistance is also why some in the EV industry are paying attention despite SIB's energy density shortcomings. In freezing temperatures, lithium ions can get lost on their way to the anode, plating onto the outside instead, which lowers efficiency or even causes a short. Sodium batteries are more resistant to that problem. Most lithium batteries start struggling at -20 degrees Celsius or -4 degrees Fahrenheit, while CATL claims its second-gen sodium batteries can handle as low as -40 degrees Celsius, which is also -40 degrees Fahrenheit. It's one reason the company is eyeing them for EVs. If the world's largest battery maker getting serious about SIBs isn't enough to grab your attention, just wait until you hear what the second largest is up to. And speaking of staying plugged in, let's talk about staying secure online with today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN.
Gotta skip the ad, unfortunately. Can't force it.
Battery maker get and thanks to Surfshark and all of you for supporting the channel. So if the world's largest battery maker getting serious about SIBs isn't enough to spark your curiosity, let's talk about the world's second largest. That would be BYD, CATL's longtime rival, and BYD is going big on sodium. The company broke ground on a new gigafactory last year, and once it's fully operational in 2027, it's expected to crank out 30 gigawatt hours of sodium-ion batteries per year. Looks like BYD is really seasoning the competition. And this is part of BYD's push to diversify its energy storage portfolio and drive down the cost of sodium batteries. The company says its SIBs are already on track to match the price of standard lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, batteries by 2025, this year. And eventually, as the technology matures, they could be up to 70%.
That's crazy.
BYD
This
is
technology is
also rolling out
becoming
its
way
first
more
utility-scale
accessible,
sodium battery energy
at least
storage
by these
system, or
projections.
BESS, the MC Cube SIB energy storage system. What a coincidence, MC Cube was my DJ name. The system boasts a power output of 1,155 kilowatts and a storage capacity of 2.3 megawatt hours. That's solid, but still lower than the average lithium-ion BESS, which typically holds around 5 megawatt hours. So the big questions are, will sodium's unique advantages help it compete with existing lithium systems? And will BYD's predicted price drop actually happen? If either of these is yes, expect to see a lot more SIBs in the near future. But for now, we wait. And BYD isn't the only one making moves in China.
Alrighty, and we back. Let's
Zhejiang
continue this
Hunan
video.
Energy recently announced the registration and coding of its own sodium-ion production line. The company can now produce 4 gigawatt-hours of sodium-ion battery cells and modules, and this is just phase 1. The company claims it will scale up to 20 gigawatt-hours of sodium-ion production capacity. Of course, they still haven't set a firm deadline for that, so take that with a few grains of sodium. It's another signal that the industry is shifting.
Yeah, this dude does say with the puns. Very, I like his video structure. It's a nice mix of, you know, serious and like kind of lighthearted jokes.
In the US, California-based Natron Energy has developed SIBs that allegedly charge and discharge 10 times faster than lithium-ion batteries. With an estimated lifespan of 50,000 cycles, they sound very promising. But there's a catch. Natron hasn't released weight-based energy density figures, which is typically a weak spot for SIBs. A 2022 Chemical and Engineering News article put their energy density at just 70 watt-hours per kilogram, on the very low end of the sodium-ion spectrum. While that's fine for stationary storage applications like data centers and telecoms, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence in their EV ambitions. What really makes Natron worth discussing, though, is its push for full-scale commercial production. The company is building its own sodium-ion gigafactory in Edgecombe County, North Carolina, with a planned production capacity of 24 gigawatt-hours. And this isn't Natron's first rodeo. Last year, it opened a smaller sodium battery factory in Holland, Michigan, currently the only one of its kind in the US, at least until the larger facility comes online. At full capacity, the Holland plant is expected to produce about 600 megawatts of sodium-ion batteries annually. It's unclear how much it's producing right now, but Natron says battery shipments will begin this June. Though SIBs are finally coming into their own, researchers haven't stopped pushing the envelope. Over in the US, scientists from Dinka Lab have developed a sodium-ion battery using a new organic cathode made from, I'm not even going to try to say this because it would short-circuit my brain. I'm just going to call it TAC.
Oh. Bis tetraaminobenzoquinone. Bis tetraaminobenzoquinone.
So what's an organic cathode and what does it do for a battery? Well, here organic means that a cathode is made from readily available non-metallic elements, stuff like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Lithium-ion battery anodes are often made from similar materials using graphite. But making the cathode organic as well is a big deal. Normally, cathodes rely on metals that are scarce and difficult to mine, like cobalt. A fully organic battery where both the anode and the cathode are metal-free could be a game changer. So why aren't all batteries using organic cathodes already? Well, the problem is that they tend to dissolve into the electrolyte, degrading both the electrolyte and the cathode. But according to the Dinka Group, TAC is completely insoluble, highly conductive, and boasts a high energy density. In fact, it could rival
I wonder what the trade-off is, because usually, you know, they say if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
Batteries, but the results sparked a new idea. What if they applied it to sodium-ion batteries? Since one of sodium's biggest drawbacks is the lower energy density, why not address that weakness while keeping all the cost and sustainability benefits? Adapting the cathode for sodium batteries took a year of refinement, as the researchers had to tweak design principles that didn't translate easily from lithium-ion technology. But the results surprised them. In the words of lead author Tianyang Chen, the binder we chose, carbon nanotubes, facilitates the mixing of TAC crystallites and carbon black particles, leading to an homogeneous electrode. The carbon nanotubes closely wrap around TAC crystallites and interconnect with them. Both of these factors promote electron transport within the electrode bulk, enabling an almost 100% active material utilization, which leads to almost theoretical maximum capacity. Now, unlike the other sodium batteries we've been discussing, this breakthrough is still in the lab. There's no telling when or if it will be commercialized, pass third-party tests, or overcome all of the usual hurdles. But it's still an exciting development for both lithium and sodium batteries. And for what it's worth, the Dinka Group's initial research was funded by Lamborghini. So if this tech does make it to market, a luxury automaker is already in line, ready to capitalize on it. While the future looks bright for SIBs, beware. Just because it glitters doesn't mean it's, well, salt. In November of 2023, Swedish manufacturer Northvolt unveiled its own sodium battery, boasting a respectable 160 watt-hours per kilogram energy density. It's respectable, but not exactly rock salt solid. The company had already made waves with its nickel manganese cobalt formula, but like many others, it aimed to expand. After launching its first gigafactory in Sweden and setting up additional facilities in Poland and Germany, Northvolt set its sights on North America, planning a battery factory in Montreal. But by the following November, Northvolt had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Sheesh.
Since this is a restructuring type of bankruptcy, it's not as dire as it sounds. Northvolt says its Swedish operations will continue as usual,
You
and
get
its
bankruptcy,
German and
like,
North American
fuck.
subsidiaries funded separately aren't affected. I'm not an international corporate financial law channel, so I won't pretend to know what all the implications are, but Chapter 11 is complicated, or so I'm told. On one hand, Northvolt claims this voluntary reorganization will give them access to $145 million in cash collateral and $100 million in debtor in possession financing. On the other hand, bankruptcy, no matter the type, doesn't exactly inspire confidence. So is this just a financial finessing or a sign of deeper trouble? Guess we'll find out. There are still some lingering issues with sodium batteries. Despite what CATL, BYD, and Natron are saying, I remain skeptical about its role in EVs. The biggest hurdle is energy density. Sodium-ion battery packs simply don't pack as much power per pound as lithium does. And while they use cheaper materials, their lower energy density means the cost per unit of stored energy
You
actually
can
ends up higher.
swap to sodium-ion battery alternatives for things that aren't as energy intensive, and save the lithium-ion batteries for,
Sodium batteries
you
gained
know,
traction during the lithium shortage, but now, well, lithium prices have
EVs.
plummeted, down 70% in the past 3 years due to oversupply. That price drop has weakened the financial case for sodium, at least for now. In a February 2025 Science article, battery chemist Dan Steingart from Columbia University pointed out that sodium-ion manufacturers are still too small to benefit from economies of scale. In a January 2025 Stanford study examining SIB's path to market success, noted that when or if they'll become cost competitive is still highly uncertain. And of course, lithium still has an iron phosphate grip on multiple industries. Even with SIB's
dude
potential
is
drag and
slick
drop
with the puns,
compatibility,
not even gonna
shifting
lie.
manufacturing and consumer demand will take time. This creates a catch-22. Sodium batteries will only get cheaper when they're widely produced, but they'll never hit that scale until they're cheaper. So where does that leave SIBs? Honestly, I think it's a pretty exciting spot. Too often when covering new battery tech, I have to pump the brakes with the usual disclaimers. It's still in research or it's years away from commercialization. But sodium-ion batteries, they're already rolling out, backed by some of the biggest battery makers on the planet. This might be one of the few times a salty market outlook is actually a good thing. That alone puts them high on the technology readiness level, arguably around a 9 for BESS applications, and maybe a few steps behind that for the others. Yes, SIBs still have hurdles, but compared to the other emerging battery technologies, these challenges seem much more manageable. If they pull it off, sodium-ion might just be the seasoning our energy grid needs. But what do you think? Do you think sodium has a shot at catching on? Jump in the comments and let me know. And be sure to listen to my follow-up podcast, Still to be Determined.
Sounds pretty
This
cool.
conversation
I
going.
trust him. He's a lot
Thanks as
smarter
always to
than
my
me.
patrons for your continued support and helping me to keep the channel going.
All right, you gonna like it up, of course. All right. Yeah, it's probably gonna do it for today's learning. Thanks for joining me. Get out there, explore what makes you curious, and yeah, live your lives.